After a dominating performance over Sergey Deryevchenko, it's time to start asking the question, what is next for Jermall Charlo at 160 pounds? Who should he compete against, and where do we see him going? So that's going to be the topic today on the Boxing Politic. What do you think should happen? I'm looking it over. I really believe that just to review the performance, it was amazing. I've said it in previous videos. It kind of went as I predicted in my previous prediction on the fight. It went how I thought it would with well, not exactly. I didn't see that dominating a performance. I knew that Sergey would try to come on later, but it seemed like Charlo had an answer for everything he did. Even when he was able to get in close, the uppercut was vicious. I expected it to be competitive, but I really wouldn't say it was. This was Sergey's first clear loss, one that he was able to accept. There was no bitterness about it because it was a dominating performance. At the end, you could see that a lot of damage was done. His eye was nearly closed. He had been a victim to that jab all night. His face had the cuts. The uppercut kept landing. It was like that was one thing he couldn't get out of the way of. And it's interesting, well, amazing that Charlo's able to throw it with both hands. It has a powerful right and left uppercut, and he can work it off of counters and everything and lead with it as well, which is not something you often see. But when we're thinking about what should happen next fights for him, the main three we'll think of is Andrade, Golovkin, and Canelo. And really, the Golovkin fight should have been happened. He was Golovkin's mandatory. Somehow that got walked around. Well, he wasn't his mandatory. He was. They were supposed to fight in a title eliminator for the WBC, and Triple G opted out, and we see why. We see that they've been avoiding that fight ever since he's come to 160. Sanchez would previously state that black fighters don't sell, things like that, any excuse to stay out the way. And we see why. Golovkin is a victim of the jab. Canelo was able to land it quite efficiently. Jacobs was able to as well. And he gasses. He gets kind of tired. We noticed that even with the Willie Monroe fights. And in his more recent fights, he's just not looking the part the way he used to. If you put him in there with Charlo right now, I think Charlo's the favorite. Not just like a personal favorite, but the betting favorite would be Jermall Charlo at this point. I think we'll see him dominate Golovkin, and probably worse than he did with Sergey Deryevchenko. I don't think the fight would be close at all, and that would be something that would actually force a fight with Canelo. Like, Canelo wouldn't be able to go away from it unless he decides he's just not at 160 anymore. At this point, people will justify any action that he takes as a fighter, so he'll be able to get away with it, and he'll just have to move on to another weight class. Yeah, I think he'll get ran up out of the division if we see that. But I don't think it's a fight that Triple G even wants to take, because he's still chasing Canelo. That's who he's based his career off of at this point. In that fight, I would see, like I said, Charlo coming out victorious. Next, Andrade. Andrade has he's mismanaged his career, which is not the first thing I want to say about him. But that's the thing that comes to mind. It's kind of like if you think of orange, the first thing that comes to my mind is apple. You know what I'm saying? Orange or apple, they like apples and oranges. The first word that comes to my mind is that, and the first word that comes to my mind with Demetrius Andrade is career mismanagement. And at this point, he's done it so long, and he's fought subpar opposition, nothing that's really developed him as a fighter since his fight with Vanez Matarosen, things like that. You saw him starting to develop. He was supposed to fight Jermall, and that's one. At that time, I would have favored him. Now I don't. He hasn't had anything that shows that he's developed in this time period. And I think if he were to go against Charlo right now, he'd be a victim of the jab the same way. I don't think his style, he's able to hit these guys a lot, but the guys he fights aren't really up to par. It's just hard. It'd be like going from 6th grade algebra straight into calculus, and it's not that had you put him against the right opposition that he wouldn't have developed and been able to really own the moment, but he wouldn't be able to do it now because he didn't develop. He's not getting good fights at that weight, and I don't see him doing anything, being able to really hold his own in that fight. If Jack Cole K gave him the fight that he had, I find it hard to think he can do anything with Charlo, his defense has greatly improved, and he's able to stay in the cut with it. Like Andre's defense is his legs, his feet, so he's gonna be always trying to get out the way and taking himself out of the way to return fire. So he's been able to do what he can because he's doing it against lower opposition. But if he's not able to stay in the cut with somebody like that, he's not going to be able to return fire. He's going to be on the outside of that jab the whole time. So that's the way I see that. The Canelo fight. I think Canelo has seen his best days. And people put him as the pound for pound and all of that, but there's a reason he's bouncing and moving all of these different places, because his toughest opposition is in the weight class he belongs in, that's 160. So you'll bop up there and you'll get a Kovalev or somebody like that, but I mean, of course, you're not gonna fight a Vitabayev or Bivol or those other guys, but you'll jump up there, you'll move around these different weight classes trying to get the easiest pickings you can get for a belt. Like he was trying to fight Yildirim Duzovic. I don't mean be rude, but I don't know that man's name. All we know is he's had some recent losses, and somehow they're trying to fight for David Benavidez's vacant belt, which really Jose Benavidez? No, Jose is the brother. But David Benavidez, David Benavidez's belt. But if anybody's going to fight for that, if Canelo has to fight anybody, it should be David Benavidez to get his belt back. Like, he should get that opportunity to fight Canelo for it. But if Canelo has to fight him, he's not going to want that belt. So, just judging him by how he's maneuvering his career, it lets me know that he sees that he needs to protect the chick while also getting the accolades to make it seem okay. So he's doing some type of balance in that, and Charlo would be wrong for that act. This wouldn't be the balance. He would give up about 5 inches in height, probably about 6 inches in reach. He's less mobile. Like he relies on upper body movement to get out of the way of the punches, and that lasts for him for like the early parts of the fight. If he has to get close, he's gonna get uppercutted. He's been susceptible to jabs, and like I said, that's the best jab in the business right about now. So he's gonna get popped with a jab on the outside. Canelo wanes later. Charlo kind of picks up later. So I don't think it works in his favor. So, well, what I see from him now is hopefully not being avoided. I mean, once you have a belt, it's hard to be somebody else's mandatory. I don't think they do that often. But if put in that position, I think he dominates Canelo. And partially, I think Golden Boy is willing to do it now. Golden Boy and DAZN, because it frees up their money. They can't afford to pay this guy what they've agreed to pay him. So him taking a loss can actually kick them out. They'll be able to take him off the contract, maybe 2 losses in a row, they can decide that, hey, he's not the star that he was, woo-de-woo, we can escort him off the premises. And that's probably what they want right about now. They want him to take those losses. So I even saw Ring Magazine trying to push for that fight, talking about all roads lead to Canelo on the Instagram. And maybe it's time they really want to stop protecting him. They want to stop protecting him because he's not bringing in the money like he used to. It's still a great name to have, but he doesn't seem. I think he's seen his best days. You got to remember, this kid has been fighting since 15. He's got like 50 something fights. He's wearing down. He's wearing down. He's jumped up and down these weights, which is also not the best. Once you're moving up and down weights like that, your body has to acclimate to it. He's not at a shape that his body is just like, okay, this is my comfort level. His body doesn't even get to adapt to a weight class because he's going up and down and all these other things to like pick off certain competition at each level. So when that time comes, I do think he'll be on the losing end of that fight. But that's it for my perspective of what's next for Jermall Charlo. I think well, those were the hypothetical matches. I do think that he's gonna get a Chris Eubanks fight at 160, and if he can't get Golovkin or Canelo in the ring, I do see him unfortunately moving up without being able to cement his legacy at that weight class, because nobody wants to get in there with him in that weight class. But that's it. That's been the Boxing Politics. I'll be up with you next time. Y'all take it easy.